Hello, I'm Mehrnaz Campbell, founder and CEO of Cheemia and author of The Omni Advantage. Welcome to our LinkedIn Live for month of June. I'm so excited and glad that you're here with us. I'm dialing in from scorching hot Pennsylvania. It's 7 a.m. in the morning here and it's already 25 degrees. And I think by this afternoon it's going to be 35, so it's going to be scorching and melting. But I'm curious to know, where are you? So tell me, where are you now? Where are you tuning in from? And what's the sky like where you are? Is it sunny? Is it bright? Or is it raining? I'd love to hear from you. So please drop a quick hello in the chat and tell us where you're joining us from. At Cheemia, our purpose is around unleashing human potential to create a healthier world. And my passion is about inspiring pharma leaders to shift from just delivering messages to healthcare professionals to transform and become their trusted advisors. And over the past 3 years, we've tackled these challenges of digital transformation in healthcare. And through these series of LinkedIn conversations, I want to spark connection, inspire change, and drive meaningful transformation that improves outcome for healthcare professionals and their patients. And I'm passionate about helping pharma feel confident using technology to improve our engagement with HCPs. And that's why I've been interviewing inspiring leaders to learn from them and also tap into their experience and share the insight with you through this series. So now I'm thrilled to welcome Carlos Eid, Executive Director, International Medical Affairs, Cardiovascular with Novartis. Hi, Carlos. It's great to have you here.
Hello.
And thank you for joining me. How are you
No,
doing?
thank you so much. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. And happy to be here as well. And it's, by the way, scorching hot as well here in Dubai. It's
What's the
almost
temperature
40,
there?
I would say 45 degrees almost. So
Ooh,
yeah, but Celsius, I'm not sure in Fahrenheit, what does that translate into? But
it's probably going to be
it's really
above
hot.
100. Yeah. My husband
Yeah.
was teaching me how to convert one to the other. But I'll maybe tell you another time. But I think 32 last night I worked out was, and sorry, 35 was 92. So if you're at 45, that must be over 100. By the way, can you fry an egg on the bonnet of your car at that temperature?
Yeah, but even on the balcony, you don't need to go down to the car.
Oh gosh. So before we dive into this conversation, I want to tell you a little bit about Carlos in case you don't know him.
Oh
Carlos
God.
is a medical director, a global pharmaceutical professional with over 14 years of experience spanning medical affairs, market access, field medical excellence. And he currently leads the Cardiovascular Medical Affairs team for international markets, where he applies his expertise across diverse geographies, and he's driven by the opportunity to make meaningful impact on clinical practice and patient outcomes. In his personal time, he enjoys writing and speaking with other leaders, and he likes to talk about leadership, field medical, and the future of medical affairs. And as you can see in his background, he's a huge Lego fan, he's a musician, and is a father of 2 gorgeous girls. And right now, I think you live in EAU, Dubai, right?
Dubai, yes, in UAE.
Hence the heat that you've got there. So, Carlos, usually I talk about how I met our wonderful speakers. So, do you remember how we first met?
Ah, was it at Next Pharma, I guess?
Yeah.
It was
Do you
at
remember
Next
which
Pharma,
one?
the one in Vienna.
Yeah.
And I remember we had a panel together, and that was the first time we met. We met like virtually before just to arrange for the panel. And then we had the panel together, and then I still have here next to me the beautiful book that you gave me,
Oh,
the Omni Advantage, which, and I remember at first I told you, because if you recall in Vienna, I was not too impressed with the whole concept of omni-channel. And when I looked at and I read Omni Advantage, I thought, oh, not another omni-channel book. And then you told me, no, read it. And then when I read it, I realized it has nothing to do with omni-channel. But it was really eye-opening on a lot of things that we struggle with on a daily basis. So yeah, that's our story.
Yeah, that's amazing. And if you think about it, that was October 2024, so it's not even a year. But honestly, when I talk to you, I feel as if I've known you for ages. I don't know whether
It was
you
only a
feel.
year?
It's less than
Oh,
a year.
wow.
We went to Vienna. It was in November or October.
Exactly.
Well, we
Yeah.
connected maybe 4 weeks before to prepare for the alignment call.
Absolutely.
And I remember it was Oz from US and Ramika. There was a panel, the three of you, and I was moderating it. So that's not even a year ago. And we've seen each other since 3 times. So yeah, it's really cool. So let me bring some of our audience here. We've got maybe I hope I pronounced this correctly. It's got Dr. Kaiser. Her first name is Edelgard from Switzerland. Hi there. And it's good to know that it's sunny in Switzerland. We also have Tanushri from, where are you from? You're joining us from Hot Dubai. So thank you for joining us. I hope you're somewhere cool and you can stay away from the 45 degrees. And we've got Sayali from Pune, India. So good to see you and thank you for joining us. And we've got Paul Sims, our friend. How are you, Paul? Is it sunny in London as well?
Oh, I'm sure it's sunny.
Be careful now, Carlos. Don't get it wrong. I don't know what he's implying. So, Paul, write in the chat.
Remembering where I met you
for
the first time.
Okay. It's really funny. I was actually talking to Paul and I was asking him, was Carlos at Pharmageddon? Because I had a feeling maybe I had met you before. And then Paul reminded me that you did go to Pharmageddon, but not the first one, the second one. I was at the first one. So unfortunately, we missed each other. Well, we made up for it. So,
and I will be at this one this year as well. So
cool.
I'm really excited for it.
They've got quite a few of them. Which one are you going to?
Europe.
Oh, perfect. That's much more convenient for you rather than going to US. Amazing.
Exactly.
So I was going to say, I've got lots of questions for Carlos, but this is not about me. No, I was going to say I'm just talking to the audience here. I want to say this is a live event and it'd be much more exciting and much more engaging when we focus on your question, not my question. So with Carlos' expertise in medical affairs and human connection here, now is your chance to ask. So pop in your question in the chat. And if you enjoy what Carlos says, give him a thumbs up, make a comment. If you don't like what he says, please comment, because I always think it's much more exciting to have a debate and not necessarily agree with each other, because that expands all our perspective. So as I said, it's much more exciting to have your input. So please join us, and I'll really love to hear from your questions and thoughts, and I'll bring them into the conversation. But to kind of kick things started, I want to kind of maybe start with a question, and then I'll gradually bring everybody else's questions in the conversation. Is that okay with you, Carlos?
Absolutely.
So let me start with a kind of easy one. Why did you choose the pharma industry? Can you tell us a little bit about your career path?
Sure. So I come from a small country, which is Lebanon. And when I finished medical school and I was working in the medical field, I started learning more about the pharma industry and what they do, and in terms of research, education, partnerships. And I found this as an opportunity to expand kind of my reach, expand the impact that I could be doing in the future job, or the job that I want to do for the future years to come. And I felt that I can leave a bigger footprint in the world in terms of my career and my move that I will do. Being a doctor, of course, you can have a very good footprint, but I felt I want to go outside of my own clinic and to really have an impact more in a more diverse, let's say, population geography. And that's the path I took with pharma, where I found that this is where science meets, let's say, the business and a great career, and that's the path I took.
That's fantastic. You know, as I'm listening to you, Carlos, what you're saying resonates with me as well, because I used to be a healthcare professional, and when I decided initially, I joined like medical equipment industry, and then about a couple of years later, I joined pharma industry. And people were saying to me, "Do you not miss the patient bedside interactions?" And I said, "Look, when I was a nurse, I could maybe influence the lives of 28 patients in a given day, when you're in charge of the ward.
Exactly.
But when you're working in the pharma industry, you can impact, hundreds and thousands of people depending on the role you have, because I actually take really pride in the fact that we can communicate novel medicines to, senior decision makers that could make a decision on behalf of a population and give people access to this. I think, I agree with you, we're having a bigger impact by working in this way as opposed to continuing as a healthcare professional. Not to say that what the healthcare professional is doing is not having an impact. It does, but it's just like you always need to find your sweet spot where you feel you can challenge yourself and grow, but also make a bigger contribution. So yeah, thank you for sharing your story.
Absolutely.
So I'm just checking to see whether any of our audience asking questions. And I don't see one. So please do, Paul. I expect you to at least have 2 questions, but I'll come back to my own question to continue to warm everything up.
He's still warming up. Give him time.
Yeah, he says he's warm where he is, and he says it's the sun shining where he is. So hopefully he will join us soon. So I'm just going to kind of like jump in, sideways, talk about AI. Are you seeing any use of AI in the cardiovascular space and medical affairs in general? And if you do, what's your observation and comments?
Sure. Look, it's a super hot topic. Everybody is now mentioning AI in one way or the other, right? You go on LinkedIn, most of the content is AI generated. You start seeing all these AI pictures. You go to work, they're upskilling you on AI this, AI that. Now, if I want to kind of make it, I'm not saying it's a hype. It's definitely the future will be empowered or will be powered by AI. The future humans will be working with AI. I don't think we're at the phase now to say that AI is doing proper reasoning. We saw the study from Apple or the publication that they had. We saw also other posts and other thing about the reasoning skills that are still not there with AI. But if I look at our space, AI is definitely doing good advances in drug development, in selection of certain targets or certain molecules or certain pathways. Now, definitely it will not invent new pathways, because you know that AI is based on what you feed it and what it learns. So if it learns certain modalities, it's not going to come and tell you, oh, there's this new receptor in the body that nobody has spoken about before and nobody has discovered. You should target it for that disease. So that's one limitation, but it's really helping in speeding up drug development, speeding up clinical trials. So we see that application happening there. When it comes to our place in medical affairs, we do see AI helping in HCP segmentation or selection or understanding of their interests. We do see AI being used in content creation, but not so much yet. Because of certain hallucinations that could happen, or the accuracy is always not there at 100%. We definitely see it in MedInfo, in insights analysis. It has been there since a very long time, and now it's even getting more and more advanced. Before we used to have NLP or AI to kind of tell you trends and topics. Now we see more Gen AI, where you could actually ask the prompt or put a prompt on, okay, what are the key insights coming from X country and X country, or those two countries together, or is there anyone speaking anything about X? And then it gives you kind of a summary. So we're seeing in those areas, we do see a great use for AI. So in our job in development, the last example I will give, and of course there are tons of other examples, so please, for all the vendors out there, don't start bombarding me with emails saying, oh, but we do this and we do that and we do that. I'm sure there are plenty of applications out there. But the third one that also we should not forget is in terms of our day-to-day kind of activities. So using AI to review a certain article that we're writing, or to review a post that I'm putting on LinkedIn, if the grammar is correct, if there is any word that I'm misusing, to create, like I said before, some nice images. I have many posts where I kind of create certain images because I don't want to start looking for an image and purchase it from iStock or whatever. AI can do that for me in a much quicker way and for free. And it really helps you to elevate your content and the quality of what you're writing and what you're saying. But I caution people, when using AI, don't become dumb. All right? There is a risk that people fully rely on AI. Oh, write me a post about this, and then you copy paste and put it in there. That's absolutely terrible, because there is a study that was published also recently. I can find all these and put them in the chat when I can do that. But there is a study that has shown a reduction in brain mass and also in cognitive function in people that are fully relying now on ChatGPT for everything, like literally everything. Like, you tell them, oh, this costs 100 and this costs 250, and then they go to ChatGPT. Like, what is 100 and 250? Like, seriously, use your brain cells for a minute. Don't just ask ChatGPT everything and let him write everything. So I think that's sufficient answer for these for the different applications that I have seen personally so far.
I love your
And
answer.
happy to hear from the chat if I hit a nerve or if there's anything.
We'll look at the question in a minute, but I was going to say, I really love the way you shared that, because first of all, you playing with it. I often think when the new tool comes in, you just play with it and you find your own way. Then you can see its benefit and its shortcoming. You'd be curious maybe to know that I'm actually updating the book that you mentioned, the Omni Advantage. This year I'm going to publish the second edition. I'm adding 2 chapters. One's on AI, the other one on social media. It's almost like finished. It just needs to go through editing, but I've had contribution from some of the leaders in that chapter. And I think what they're saying is, again, like you said, is a tool, but you can't 100% rely on it. It's like having a really good assistant. You still need to check what they're producing. And I often find maths, AI makes a lot of simple maths mistakes, and also it drops things. Sometimes it hallucinates and makes things up. And I constantly have to, it's like a child, you need to keep an eye on it. It's a very intelligent, bright child, but you need to keep an eye on it to set the boundaries to make sure it functions within the parameters you want to work in. But thank you for sharing your examples and insights. Yeah.
So one comment on that is, even if it becomes super bright and knows everything, even if it stops hallucinating, if we continuously rely on it for every little exercise, your brain is like a muscle. Your memory is also like a muscle. If we stop training our brains to do the critical thinking or to do the reviews ourselves, it will atrophy with time. I can give you a very simple example. Before the creation of the mobile phone, we used to have these landlines. I used to memorize the phone number of all my friends and their families and the schools and everything that we would call. I used to have in my memory more than maybe 50, 60 numbers that I could just remember when you mentioned the name of the person. Now, I don't even know the number of my wife, because, we got used
your
to
own number.
Yeah, my own. But I mean, because we just save the numbers and now we just dial them. So our capacity to remember things or remember numbers is not there like it used to be before. So you are relying on your phone most of the time to get the numbers, to get the things for you. This might be like a terrible example that I just gave,
Yeah.
but
I see what
it's
you mean. But I think, Carlos, I find your brain doesn't stay static. So I don't memorize numbers. I know my number and I know my husband's number because when I go to the grocery stores, all our kind of loyalty cards is based on his telephone number. So I had to learn it because of that reason. But I think our brain develops in other areas, like,
yeah.
speaking another language or learning about, AI. So I don't think if you've got agile brain, I think you don't stop learning, but you just stop learning things that are not necessary. Like knowing the telephone numbers is not necessary because we've got it all in our phone. But yeah, I see what you mean. Is I guess is if you use a gym example, if you stop going to the gym, we kind of like become fat and not agile. As long as you're using your brain in a way, I think it keeps it agile, but you might change the
That's
direction you give it. Yeah.
so that was the point. The point was not that you need to memorize numbers, but when you had your phone, your ability to memorize numbers, or let's say your tendency to memorize numbers, was gone. So if
Yeah.
I imagine ChatGPT as the phone and now doing all the critical thinking, you're not going to stay a critical thinker because
You're
you
right.
stop doing that activity. So you
Yeah.
stop training your brain to be a critical thinker, and now
Yeah.
your brain is just going to be the person that flips through reels and watches silly stuff
Yeah.
and
I agree. I
on
totally.
Instagram and TikTok the whole day, and so
Yeah, I agree with you. And the way I envisage is like AI is like you're the pilot of the airplane. You tap into it to give you power to fly. But at the end of the day, you need to be the brain behind it. You need to give it the creativity and thoughts and not necessarily rely on everything it churns out. But you could speed up the process of creativity. But let's tap in to see what our audience are saying because I've got lots of comments here. Uh, Let me just organize my thoughts here. So we've got a question for you from Edelgard saying, can you provide a successful case study with AI in medical affairs in Novartis? I guess what we need to bear in mind here is Carlos was representing his own views here, not his company. So within reason, is there something you can share, Carlos?
yeah, so of course I forgot the famous disclaimer at the beginning. So I'm here representing my own views and not any of my company's views. What I could say is something which is not very business critical, but exactly in the field of insights. And I've shared that before in many different webinars on how we were able to generate meaningful insights and actionable insights using AI, because we completely removed the bias of the human in selecting which input coming from the countries makes sense or not, and then using AI's ability to really look at massive amounts of data and really highlighting trends and new topics and emerging topics, and the ability to see that if you equip your field to action a certain trending topic, you can in the second quarter see if the mentioning of that topic or the discussions around that topic are decreasing or increasing, and then you make your own evaluations. We were also able to identify a key area of interest for research based on the insights that were coming from two very far away countries, but they were both speaking the same language or highlighting the same insights around a certain area that would be interesting for us to study with our drugs. And yeah, that these are like a few things of what I can share on how AI in the insights field was really very powerful and helpful.
Brilliant. I've got another question here from Zanita. Have you come across any examples of helping HCPs identify suboptimally managed patients, kind of like an audit tool?
So we have discussions, and I know some countries and other pharma companies, and even at regional levels, there are discussions on like the electronic health records and whether you can incorporate AI in those electronic health records. I've seen also a video from Stanford where they are leveraging AI to identify patients early on and go more into the preventive instead of let's say how do you say it? Lost the word. But to really identify patients early on based on certain characteristics, baseline or blood tests or family history, and then you will have like an alarm, or you will have like a patient highlighted and with suggested actions because this patient could be at risk of disease X or Y, and then an early intervention could be beneficial for the healthcare, for the environment, and also to avoid having events in those patients. So yeah, there are discussions there. There are a lot of videos and educational content there on try to check Stanford AI cardiology. I think it was a course that I took on Coursera that they were discussing that, but it will be interesting to know if it's in the public space as well.
Brilliant. I hope that answers your question, Zanita, but also Zanita shares that unfortunately certain heavily regulated areas of our work is not conducive to trusting AI without proper validation. That's absolutely, spot on. Yeah.
Yeah, but let's look. If you want to really incorporate AI, definitely you need to have this can-do attitude and to choose the right stakeholders to go with you on that journey. Some people sometimes say, "Oh, it's very regulated." Yeah, it's very regulated, but there are solutions. Regulated does not mean that it's impossible. Regulated means that you get your compliance colleagues, your legal colleagues, your IT colleagues with you on the journey. And the most important step is to really identify what you want to achieve. What is the target? What is the business value that you are bringing? Let's not come and say, "Oh, we want AI." Okay, why do you want AI? What problem are you trying to solve with AI? What is the benefit to the patients or to the HCPs that you're doing with AI? If it's a personal benefit that you can throw on them 700 RTEs a day instead of one a month, that's not a benefit. That's your own comfort. So once you identify a problem and you get the different cross-functional colleagues with you on the way, there are things that you can do. Like, for example, you can educate a chatbot on restricted content, let's say for MedInfo. So then that chatbot cannot hallucinate because it will only feed on the material that you gave it. And there are certain societies doing things like that. There are certain HCPs that I know are also trying to create their own chatbots on certain content or guidelines or stuff to be able to simplify or to have a chatbot help them in their daily work. So it can be done. Just make sure that you involve the right stakeholders with you from the beginning of the journey, and don't come with a fully baked solution and then feel bad if they block it.
Carlos, you said something, I could actually reach out and kiss your brain. You said, find the problem. What is the problem for HCPs you're trying to solve? That's the starting point. You need to have whatever tool you're using has to be related to solving a tangible problem. Just using it for the sake of using it is a bit futile. And like you said, you don't want to throw hundreds of content at somebody hoping something would stick. It's just using it to address a core problem. And I think that's when you get the HCP's attention. If you understood their problem and came with a half-baked idea that addressed their solution, they would stop and listen. But I think often we just throw stuff at them without really thinking about what their need is. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We've got more comments here. So on the topic of AI, Paul says AI first step is to cover operational efficiency, like basic stuff. And it should free up time to focus on other stuff that humans should focus on: creativity, leadership, play. And Paul thinks we should have an abundance mindset rather than either or. Do you have any thoughts or comments to share with Paul on this?
No, absolutely. And this is what you were saying, like treat AI now at least as your assistant. I would love AI to proofread my documents. I would love AI to help me schedule meetings. I would love AI to help find, I don't know, things that I'm searching for to do some research for me without me spending 5 hours on Google to do that. But I would not want AI at this point of time to really replace my strategic thinking, to really replace my creativity and the things that will really make my brain work and really differentiate me from a machine. So let's try to maintain those critical skills for us as humans, and let the operational efficiency now with AI, or let AI help us with operational efficiency. So yeah, I'm fully aligned on that.
Perfect. I've got a question and comment from Tanushri. She says, what are your thoughts on the field medical function losing access to HCPs in the coming time, now that HCPs can do the heavy lifting of drawing insights, trial analysis relatively easily using AI if they choose to?
Okay, deep breath.
Good question there.
Okay, I think there is a problem in understanding what the MSL job is. And I've written posts about that maybe even more than a year ago, saying that as long as the MSLs, we recruit them and hire them just for data dissemination and telling us what the physician said, they are going to become obsolete. And I say it again, in 2025, and maybe we can take that part of the video in the future when this happens. Call me the oracle. But the function of the MSL, if it stays as a data disseminator and bringing back insights, it is obsolete for many different reasons. Cost, carbon footprint, wasting time of physicians if I just want to share with them data that you can easily do digitally. What is the value of the MSL? The value of the MSL is to understand a problem in the patient journey and to partner and work with that HCP in addressing it. If education is the problem, then sharing data, that's great. If access is the problem, then working on solutions with their access cross-functional colleagues is the solution. Clinical pathways, data gaps, evidence generation, that is the job of the MSL. This is why there should be MSLs in the field, especially in the pre-launch, to set up the therapy area and to set up the future drugs into success mode. Regulatory hurdles are becoming more and more, guidelines are getting more and more complicated. Drugs and the gene therapies and RNA therapies, these are all new stuff that doctors really do not maybe understand yet, or some of them do, but others still have doubts. This is why I need the MSL. And it's not just to go share data and bring insights. Because as I said, now I can go into ChatGPT, give me a full summary of ASCO, what were the key trials or whatever, and do a research, or Claude or whatever, and I'm sure it's going to hit the 80% accuracy that I can just then double check and see if it happened. So let's bring back the MSL to its strategic function of solving problems, rather than just being a walking and talking encyclopedia, or whatever we want to call it, with the HCPs.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I think that applies to the sales force as well. You know, it's not about having, if you're thinking of the MSL or the field team as a channel to disseminate information, both of them would become obsolete, because there's a difference between information and insight, and the MSLs could draw insight from all those information rather than just delivering the information. And I think, you hit the nail on the head. Is about understanding the HCP's problem and how they can use the information and insight to help them solve that problem. That's the key. And machines can't replace that, because you become part of the solution creation rather than just delivering messages. And that's what I always harp on about, is pharma needs to shift from delivering messages to becoming trusted advisors. And to become a trusted advisor, you need to give sound advice and information and insights. I don't know whether you agree with that or not.
Look, I agree. And many people maybe are going to hate me for saying that, and even worse, it's going to be a recording that then people can use. but if you think about the amount of posts and advertisements we see on let's push content, or let's create more content, let's look at the metrics. What is the value at the end of the day for the physician? That is a question that we often do not ask. And if we ask, we often do not address. And if we address, we often do not create an impact. Because we're always focused on the push. We're always focused on what we want to do and not what needs to be done. So MSLs, access, sales reps, everyone at the end of the day is industry. Okay? Mm-hmm. We're all industry. We're all a company. Now people are going to say, ooh, company, and these are the bad people. Okay. If anybody here on the line has never taken a drug and they're living off herbs, then maybe they need to disconnect because pharma is really bad. But at the end of the day, yes, there have been things that were good. There have been things that were wrong. But at the end of the day, we are bringing medications that are saving lives. And if anybody wants to tell me that, no, your medications do not save lives, then that's fine. We can have a different debate. Mm-hmm. So the medications that are saving lives, our job is to ensure that they are being used in the right patient at the right time for the right reasons, right? This is why you have labels. This is why you generate data. And this can also be done through partnerships, through identifying gaps and hurdles in the patient journey. Now, in that patient journey, there are things that salespeople need to do. There are things that medical people need to do just because of the job description and the compliance and the regulations on what is promotional, non-promotional. This is something internal. This is not something for the doctors to worry about. For the doctors, at the end of the day, it's Pfizer, GSK, Novartis that is doing something. They don't know what is your title or what you are doing. So that's, in a nutshell, we need to always think about the value that we are bringing to the physicians, to the patients, and what is the change that we are aiming to do. Mm-hmm. And if we are able to reach that point in time, I think we will be progressing for the better.
Yeah, solve the problem that they're facing and add value. Those are the two key words. And I think I'll remember that you said you're the oracle. So in years to come, I'm going to dig up this recording to see what's the future of MSL. Thank you for that. We've got a couple of comments I just wanted to share. Richard Evans commented about salespeople can do this too. I think he's talking in relationship to delivering scientific medical insights to HCPs. Maybe you can clarify that. And he's also commenting that we all are corporate agents. So that's yeah, we are one. And I think the way doctors and HCPs see us, they see us as one. But I just want to kind of like segue to a different conversation and bring an earlier comment that I had. The question I wanted to ask you was around what are the biggest challenges in leading digital transformation within global teams, and how do you overcome resistance to change? And I've got a side comment to maybe add to that here. Let me just fetch it. It came up earlier. I kind of like saved it. And it is a question from Edelgard around how do you measure the impact of digital transformation omnichannel? So do you want to address both questions simultaneously at the same time?
I think I already alluded to a lot of points that address that question. So one, identify the problem that you want to solve. Don't just use big titles of digital transformation and let's go omnichannel and then there's no problem that you're solving. When it came to omnichannel, we said, yeah, it will be great for HCPs to be able to have access to our content from anywhere they are, from their mobile phone or from their laptop or from this. And then there is this continuity of information flow. And then when you try to see with other companies and presentations at congresses that they're giving, pharma conferences that they're giving, The definition of omni-channel was basically, okay, the Congress, a certain scientific Congress happens, I'm going to push RTEs, I'm going to push MTEs, I'm going to put this on our HCP portal, I'm going to put this here and this there. That's multi-channel. That's not omni-channel. And when you ask HCPs what for them is the journey that they are looking for, they like non-biased platforms because they consider pharma websites to be biased. I don't blame them. We can be as scientific as possible. And I don't think our compliance and legal colleagues would accept that you put false information, but they will always think that this is one point of view, a pharma point of view. I want to know more the society point of view, or something that they consider to be more credible. So when it comes to the omni-channel part, I think that's my view on it. I still do not believe anybody knows what omni-channel is. I don't believe the physicians want it with all their workload and everything that they're doing, but happy to be proven wrong. When it comes to the digital transformation, as I said, try to identify the problem, take the people that you need with you on the way in order to get the things approved, reviewed, and identified if it's feasible or not, and then go for the implementation. Don't pilot for 700 years and then decide to do it, because especially now with the advances of the digital tools and AI, if you pilot something for 1 or 2 years and then say yes it works, by the time you decide to implement it, already 3-4 new solutions are out, and even they are more advanced. So don't pilot, but just do it. Select 1, 2, 3 markets. Maybe you want to consider this as a pilot, but I would rather select some key markets and start directly implementing that solution and expanding, rather than doing a pilot, pausing, reflecting, and saying, okay, and then take it into discussion for another year and then doing it again. So go fast, be brave, get the people with you on the way, and try to solve problems and not just look for shiny solutions that you can share on stage and get awards for.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I think somebody said once, we've got more pilots in pharma than there is in the air forces and airlines.
Exactly.
Do you think having all these different channels that actually made pharma more irrelevant to HCPs, because pharma marketing are using channels to throw and push more irrelevant information to HCPs rather than just understanding what the problem is and narrow the focus? Do you think this has actually created more noise rather than hitting the target with irrelevant content?
Can I plead the fifth?
Yeah, go for it. What do you want to say?
No, in the US, you say I plead the fifth
Yeah,
when you don't want to answer, right?
Okay, fine. Yeah, we can skip that one. I didn't realize
No.
over the Fifth Amendment in US. I'm US, I accept that. Yeah.
No, I mean, look, as long as the content is relevant for the HCPs and it helps them solve a problem, that's good. But sometimes there is still a bit of the old mentality, thinking that the more you create and push, the more productive you are. And we often forget to do a pulse check, we say, with the other side. If they are appreciating what is being created, they are using what is being created, and what is being created that is creating an impact. I can give you a very simple example. I personally believe most of the value of the people in the field is the human connection. If you're an MSL or a sales rep, a huge percentage of your success is how much you're a human connector, how much you connect with the HCPs, how much they trust you, how much they trust the information that you're giving them, how much they trust the partnerships that you're developing, that you're building with them, right? I was once in China, and we were visiting an HCP to discuss something related to evidence generation. And then when we left his office, I saw a line of more than 45 sales reps waiting to see the physician. And then I told them, how does this physician work? 45, if he spends 15 minutes with each, that's basically 2 full days, maybe, or less. So they told me, oh no, here it's a 5-second, 10-second interaction, and then you leave. So then my question was, this sales rep drove a car, parked it, went into the hospital, went up in the elevator. All of this is consuming electricity, fuel, entered the room, spoke for 5 seconds or 10 seconds, and then left the room. How are we ensuring that there is value? Is it by ticking the box that I met that physician? Or is it because to remind him of the great relationship that we have? Or is it that we need to really deliver a very robust message and train our people to, like, if you have only 5 seconds or 10 seconds, what is the one thing you want your HCP to remember? And not a full 10-page campaign and digital videos and, we create those beautiful videos of 5 minutes. They don't have 5 minutes to watch videos. So just a few things to think about when we're thinking of what we are giving the people and what the actual reality in front of the physician's door is for those sales reps and MSLs that are going there.
Yeah, I can tell you, we can't deliver value in 6 seconds. You just put the boxes and delivering on internal company KPIs. And we run workshops and capability development for medical and marketing cross-functional team. And one thing I always encourage them to do is on a post-it pad, write, what is the problem I'm solving for HCPs? And stick it next to your camera on top of your screen. So you look at it every day. What is the problem you're solving for HCPs? And how what you're doing today is directly addressing that problem. If what you're doing today is not directly addressing that problem, then you're not adding value. Stop doing it and do something else. That would stop us creating lots of irrelevant push content that doesn't address the core pain point that HCPs or the patients are experiencing. It's a simple solution, but actually narrows our mind. Begin with the end in mind, and then you would stop wasting so much internal resources of all your colleagues creating stuff or doing activities, driving to see people for no good reason at all. Does that make sense?
Trust me, no, it makes sense. And trust me, those 10 seconds could become 5 minutes and 10 minutes and 15 minutes if you have the right attitude and if you are really showing the HCP that I'm not here just to deliver a message, but I'm here, as you said, to help you solve a problem. So that message that you need to communicate in that 5 seconds, think about what is it that you're going to tell them for them to see in you someone who's going to help them solve a daily struggle or a daily problem. And then maybe they will tell you, wait, don't go out. Tell me more. Let's discuss.
Let's
take a different...
Carlos,
it happened with me as well when I was an MSL, but it was not a 5-second meeting.
It's a half an hour meeting. And I think if you get that narrative and the story right, that directly addresses the pain point, what you hear HCP say often is a no-brainer, because they see your proposition actually addresses 1, 2, 3 problems they're facing. And that's how you build trust, through repetitive delivery of value content that directly addresses their pain point. I've just want to bring a couple of comments here from Tanushree. She's agreeing with you. This is what you're saying, Carlos, definitely makes a lot of sense for the field medical function to work together with HCPs alongside cross-functional team as a trusted partner and not just as a data disseminator, whether they're using AI or not. And the very reason why this function was designed in the first place, as she understood it, was for this purpose. And she thanked you for your thoughts. And also, we have another comment here from...
She's spot on, by the way, Tanushree. Very, very good definition and reflection. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you, Tanushree, for joining this conversation and adding your insight. Appreciate it. And I've got a comment here from Zenita. It seems like everybody's obsessed with digital interaction, that we have forgotten about making the face-to-face interactions worthwhile. And I think that resonates with what you said, Carlos, is about creating that human connection. Because at the end of the day, HCPs are humans as well.
Exactly.
And they in the world that is overwhelmed by lots of digital content, having a human interaction actually is a differentiator. But it has to be a quality interaction, not just, seeing bodies in the car park or 5 second in the line to just flash your,
But that's the problem, Mehrnaz. That's the problem. The problem is when you push for KPIs without clear impact, when you push for visits without equipping your teams with whatever training or value or thing that they could add to their interaction and not just data dissemination. This will happen, because then the HCPs will only see a meaningless interaction that is happening, and then next time they would maybe give you an appointment, maybe not, or then they would push you, or then they would reduce the amount of time, and this starts creating stress on the field teams because they're not getting their quota, and then they try to expand the pool of physicians, or they try to push themselves on the physicians, and then they tell them, okay, you have 1 minute, and then the next time it's 30 seconds, because they're just not seeing the value. So I would rather compromise on the number of visits, but not tremendously, if there is a risk on the value. And I take accountability if a risk is on the value. It's because maybe I'm not providing them with the tools or the training on how to really provide value in their visits, instead of just telling them how many visits they need to do.
Carlos, I work in the direct communication with HCPs, and we have a team that does that in the UK. We don't measure number of calls, we measure impact. And there's some key decision makers, I'll talk to them about a proposition to see whether that resonates with their population. And I said, I won't call you until I have something more value to contact you. And it might be 6 months, it might be 8 months, it might be a year. But when I do contact them, they take my call, they meet me on Teams for half an hour, because they know I don't waste their time. And in fact, one of the senior pharmacists who makes a decision across a large population said to me, Mehrnaz, I take your calls because you don't waste my time. So frequency is nonsense if it doesn't contain value. If you have value, then you have quality conversation with people. And I think we need to have a mindset shift of thinking, if we focus on solving the problem and they see us as consistent, somebody who's delivered value, they see us differently and they're willing to engage with us. But that requires a fundamentally different mindset shift in pharma, that rather than dumping information, to really focusing on delivering value.
You're absolutely spot on. And this is why in the POG framework and the different frameworks that I posted a while back, I said activity is important. You cannot have impact without activity. But if you want to really think about it, think of a car, and then you have the impactful contributions or the strategy as your compass. And then the destination is the impact that you want to create. Activity and metrics are only the fuel. I could put fuel and do circles in my own spot, for hours. It doesn't mean I'm being impactful. I'm just moving. I'm doing activity. So also, we don't want to compromise on the visits by saying, oh, just do them if they are impactful. And then we encourage complacency, where you might have people just sitting at home and saying, oh, I'm not doing visits because, I don't have any value. No, we need to push them to think of the value. And then activity is what will drive them to do that value, but not the other way around.
Yeah, and I think the health systems are much more complex. It's not about just seeing the doctors. There's other people involved in that decision making. And if you look at the whole matrix and look at joining the dots, and then bring in different people from cross-functional team to help you on that, you focus on helping the whole healthcare system rather than just, again, delivering your sales messages. And together you can shift needles both for the company, for the patients, and for the healthcare professionals.
You couldn't be more spot on with that. And this is why we tried over the past years to really encourage MSLs to expand their focus from just the top KOLs. Some of the top KOLs do not even see patients anymore. So if my mission is to solve patient problems, or to help patients get the right therapy, or to help patients get better or feel better, if this is my mission and this is the physician's mission, I need to check who are the decision makers in that ecosystem that will help us achieve that. It could be a nurse, a physiotherapist. It could be I don't know, the lab technician. It could be the rising star, a fellow. It doesn't have always to be the top KOL that I need to engage with. Let's engage with who can help me solve the problem and not who just makes it to the top of the list.
Yeah. You need to think the whole system, the pharmacists, the commissioners, people who
everyone.
work the protocols, and think more holistically. And it goes back to, again, what's the problem you're trying to solve? And I think that's when you really engage them, because usually the health systems are fragmented. The HCPs don't know the system. So as a company, you could help them to understand the system, to navigate it, and join the dots. Absolutely. We've got a couple of comments here. I can't believe how time flies talking to you. This has been a fantastic discussion, but also we've had a lot of input from our audience. We've got a comment from Richard saying, is the problem a one-size-fits-all when dealing with unique physicians and unique patients in a VUCA environment? I have no idea what VUCA stands for. Carlos.
Volatile, uncertain, complex, and oh God. You put me on the spot, Richard, but I know what VUCA means. We use that a lot. So yeah, this is one of the problems we're working against, Richard, which is when you do a certain material or content and you try to push it on the whole globe and think that it will solve everybody's problem. That is not usually the case, and this is why, without sharing a lot of details, this is why we take a more tailored approach on key markets and on key geographies. We also tier them by based on is it high income, middle income, low income? Is it a volatile environment, economic stability? So we look at the different setups, and then we work on with the teams and the different functions on different solutions. And this should be the approach, and not just limit ourselves to promotion. There is more than promotion that pharma does. And maybe promotion is the most vocal thing that we see when we are talking about marketing and content and materials and campaigns. But there is much more that pharma does than promotion. There is policy, there is access, there is medical, there is research, there's development, there's tons of things that pharma really plays an important role in the healthcare system.
I hope that
and the healthcare environment.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I'm just conscious we've got only a few minutes. I've got loads of questions left, but I actually love the fact that we were able to bring in the questions from the audience to this conversation. And so thank you everybody for getting stuck in and sharing your thoughts. But I just wanted to usually, at the end, I'll ask our lovely speakers just their feedback around the Omni Advantage. I know, Carlos, you read it. You wrote a couple of lovely comments on LinkedIn about it, but around, how you find books quite boring and you find it difficult to read them. So I was just curious, this is your chance to give me honest feedback and maybe highlight, was there any favorite chapters in the book that really resonated with you as a doctor, as a healthcare professional?
So first of all, as I said, that's one of the few books that I've completely finished reading, because sometimes I get bored easily when I'm sitting and reading. I'm not too much into reading a lot of books. I usually really am selective in the books that I want to read. One thing that I really liked in the Omni Advantage was this sentence: when an HCP receives a request for a call or a meeting, they stop and ask, is this going to help me? Because they only sometimes get value from their interactions with pharma. Historically, interactions between pharma and HCPs have been based on pharma's agenda rather than the HCPs, and the average customer experience score across the industry confirms this. And that was basically what we were all talking about. Always think of, have the end in mind, have the objective, what is the problem that you're trying to solve, and have your customers in mind, whether they are patients or payers or healthcare providers. Because if you're not going to show value and help them solve problems, for them, you're going to become just secondary. And they will not see the value in interacting and giving you their time. And one thing they always used to tell me was, when I was an MSL, they used to tell me that how much time is the physician giving you? And I used to tell them like, oh, he gives me 15 minutes, 30 minutes sometimes, and sometimes 45 minutes. And they told me he gives the patients 15 minutes. So every 15 minutes that I was spending with those physicians is a patient that he could have saved, helped, improved his life or whatever. So he's giving me the time of a patient. And I need to bring the value in that meeting. So the what I really like about the book, Mehrnaz, is that it's not fluff. So every statement that I was reading really resonated, really, like, MSLs are good at communicating complex scientific data and they are analytical, but they're not skilled in interpersonal skills, selling, or account management. And similar to the sales team, they are reluctant to adopt digital channels and content, which is true, and which is what we're always talking about, upskilling people, making sure that we transform the roles to be future ready and future proof. So every page, every sentence, it really resonated. And I think this is why I finished the book, to see how many things will resonate. So no, really very well done.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your feedback. And, you know, the reason I wrote the book, because I was tired of seeing pharma communicate without truly connecting. And for me, connection is so much more than just communication. It's about truly engaging and focusing on the other person, not talking about ourselves, but really focusing on how we can solve the problem the other person is having. And that's the core message in the book. And is also the mission that drives everything that we do, is about unleashing the human potential to create a healthier world for patients through, you know, better insight, better problem solving for the HCPs. Carlos, it's been absolutely incredible having you here today. I'm sure our audience really enjoyed hearing your insight. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. And also, I want to thank every one of you who joined us live. Thank you for being part of this conversation, sharing your comments and asking these amazing questions. I hope you found value in what we discussed today. And, you know, I'm really kind of like chuffed about the meeting, you know, the conversation we had today, because everybody's talking about omni-channel, but it's not about the channel at all. It's about meaningful connection and engaging HCPs. And engagement isn't about the coverage and frequency. It's about listening, understanding, and adding real value. And that's how we become, you know, trusted advisors for healthcare professionals. And I really believe as an industry, we are so powerful. Together, if we unite, we can do that and bring meaningful change to patients and, you know, grow ourselves as well. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Mehrnaz, and all the audience, of course, and the questions.